This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back over there if you really wanted to.
You hear one of the girls go, ooh. Hi, yes, I am that non-leftist, lesbian, anti-feminist, whatever you want to call me, that you saw in the recent Jubilee video. I wanted to do, I was going to say a quick reaction. It's not going to be a quick reaction. I have a lot to say about this because, to be honest, we were there for like 4 or 5 hours. They didn't cut out a ton of what I said, but I still think that I have a lot to say in regards to just the conversation that we had with the feminists in general. For those who don't know, I used to be a feminist and I still believe in the equality of the sexes. I just do not agree with third or fourth wave feminism and the direction that it has taken. If you watch my videos on this channel, you would know. So we're gonna dive right in and respond accordingly.
I think the concept of anti-feminism is like counterintuitive as a woman. Like everyone should want equality of sexes.
In this society, we have to be feminists as women because
I think a better starting point would have been to simply ask each individual group of people, I can't even say women because 2 of these people identified as non-binary, what feminism is. Because the truth is this entire video wouldn't have needed to exist if we realized at the very beginning of it that we define feminism very differently at this day and age.
attacked, and that's absolutely a feminist issue, and that's something that everyone should care about.
Everyone of any gender expression, men included, should be feminist.
I think there are different brands of feminism, if you will, that don't represent what I think all of us here feel is the true ideal of what feminism
Absolutely.
is.
And I don't think that everyone has to be active as a feminist in the exact same way. Like, not everybody can.
So the reason I think this person is being hypocritical here is because a few minutes later into the video called me a TERF, they call me exclusionary, a bigot, when my version of what feminism is doesn't align with theirs. So right away they're being hypocritical.
Everybody can protest. Not everybody can really be an advocate for feminism.
At the end of the day, it's taking a look at patriarchal systems and seeing the flaws in those systems and how they negatively impact everyone.
I pause on that thought, and the disagreeers step forward.
Define woman. Go, please. It's one of you.
A person who their internal idea of what they are is a woman.
Terrible definition. Coming from a lesbian, that destroys the very concept of our sexual orientation. Just saying that it's an idea.
Why?
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 Because you can't be connected and sexually attracted to somebody's brain.
Okay, you cannot be physically sexually attracted to somebody's brain. That's not how sexual orientation works. Sexual orientation is a few things, right? It is looks, it is scents, smells, touch, mannerisms. Even if somebody is blind or deaf, they can be homosexual because there are different physical attributes that come with a person that you can be attracted to physically. Also, in knowing the fact that most of Jubilee's audience is probably further on the left than I ever was, I was getting a shit ton of hate for coming out of the gate hot, coming in hot, with asking people to define the word woman. People were calling me aggressive. I personally don't think it's aggressive to ask someone define a word that literally is in the word feminism itself. Feminism has to do with the equality of the sexes. Asking somebody to define what a female or a woman is should be an inherent part of the conversation for starters. The reason I get so upset when people don't realize how important this is to any conversation involving feminism, women's rights, anything like that, even sexual orientation, is because in order for the definition of lesbian to exist, woman and female, those definitions also have to exist. The definition that this person offered literally erases homosexuality. Of course, it makes sense to them because sexuality, sexual orientation, gender, it's all made up. It's just a social construct. It's just so crazy to me that we're in the year 2023 and this could not be more homophobic. Lesbians are attracted to the same physical sex, or at the very least, the same sex characteristics. Female bodies, female genitalia, or again, at the very least, something that resembles those things. We are not attracted to somebody's brainwaves or gender stereotypes. That's absolutely ridiculous and insanely homophobic.
Feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism.
You surprised to see me here? No. Okay, good.
You know, it's really important to include trans women and trans people and gender nonconforming people, which, by the way, I am gender queer myself. I don't actually identify as a woman. It's really important that those of us who do have privileges, like, speak up for trans women in the community, especially because they're the most at risk for hate crimes.
I also want to just level set and say that we are having this conversation without trans women.
I identify as
She's on a
trans.
she identifies as non-binary, and she's on a feminist panel.
My pronouns.
So maybe she doesn't belong here either. They don't belong here.
Plot twist, I am biologically female and I'll never deny that.
Love that. Love that they are acknowledging their biological sex. When I misgendered this person, I'm not an asshole. I'm not going to purposefully misgender somebody. I don't think that's nice. You're not going to get anywhere in a conversation or debate with these people if you are purposefully hurting their feelings.
I lived as a woman for most of my life. I am 31. I only came out a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time.
I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm trying to be, this is just genuinely me being honest, forthright. Like it is what it is. You are still living your life as a woman. Like you do not look like a man. You do not look like whatever non-binary even means. Like nobody can define what non-binary looks like. So how can you look like something that can't be defined? On the opposite side of things, there is a way to look female and to look male, or to at least look more male. Even if you are female, there are ways to present yourself that you look like a man. I've had friends of mine in the past go to the Middle East and they were lesbians and they presented themselves throughout their journey in the Middle East because they didn't want to be harassed for being lesbians. They presented themselves as a dude and walked around with their girlfriend and they looked like a straight couple. There are ways to do this. And that's not me being mean and denouncing this person's identity. It just is what it is. There's no way to look non-binary. The truth is you can look male, female, or somebody can tell that you're somewhat in the middle transitioning. Those are the three categories.
My life in these spaces with women, that does give me a kind of unique perspective now being a trans non-binary person.
I do like that they said this because it is the truth. If you ask somebody like Buck Angel why he is so inherently pro-female spaces, it is because he lived for 30 plus years being female, lived his life as a woman. He knows how important these spaces are. So it's bizarre to me that this person also doesn't understand that.
There's an issue with categorizing womanhood as a means of female. Earlier, it was mentioned by somebody on the anti-trans side about trans women coming in and taking over sports and things like that, which is just not true.
That is true.
It's not.
I've made a bunch of videos on this channel. You can click below to see those.
I can show you there might be people that also haven't.
No, I can show you a number.
Trans women retain 30% of their biological advantage.
That is not
if they went through male puberty. Yes, it is.
That is
yes, it is.
That is not.
Let's not argue it. That's not even the prompt. So we're not going to argue about that.
Because you're wrong.
If you are a trans woman and you walk out in the world and you are seen as a man, you do not belong in women's spaces. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay, so when I say this, what I'm actually talking about, and I think I said it well enough, but for the people who are out there that still aren't understanding, let me be more specific. I have a friend that lives in Iran. Let me say it the right way because people were getting on my case about that in this video as well. I was saying Iran, but you know, just New Yorkers, that's how we say it. But I have a friend of mine that is living in Iran and she is a trans woman. She walks out into the world as a woman. She is treated like a woman by society. Does that person belong in female spaces? In some cases, in some ways, absolutely, because they need the same protection that biological females living as women need. I think denying biological reality is as equally as ridiculous as denying societal reality. If you walk out like Blair White or Buck Angel, and you walk out into the world and say that Buck Angel should be in a women's restroom or women's spaces, that's bizarre to me. I think there is a very strong element of how society views you that comes into play here.
I think that's ridiculous, and I think even trans women that have gender dysphoria that go through transition will agree with me.
This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back over there if you really wanted to.
You hear one of the girls go, ooh. That was my way of simply stating, listen, take accountability for yourself. If you are uncomfortable, remove yourself from the situation. Your feelings are not my responsibility. It was as simple as that. I might have said it a little bit mean, but you know, sometimes these people need a rude awakening that the real world isn't gonna cater to you. And even if people did cater to you, that's actually not self-empowering at all. That's relying completely on other people to validate your feelings, to validate your identity, to feel good about yourself. How about we don't do that?
Took all of that off the table. table, right? If we're not talking about who can play sports with whom, can people exist as who they are?
Absolutely.
It sounded like you were saying if a trans woman doesn't look like what you perceive as looking like a woman, they shouldn't be in feminist spaces.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be in female spaces.
Okay.
Not feminist spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can be in a feminist space. Anybody can be pro-feminism, whatever feminism is to you, I guess. I'm not gonna be in these types of feminist spaces. But if a trans woman looking like the it's ma'am person comes into a women's restroom, like, people gonna turn their head, you know what I mean? So like, I'm gonna do a double take and be like, oh shit, like, am I in danger? Not because that person isn't actually trans, but these people need to start being more aware of how they show up. If you show up in a space like that, feeling entitled, not thinking twice about how you might make other women or people in general feel around you, to me, that's not very woman-like of you. Women generally in society are super hyper aware of how others feel when they are around them.
I disagree with that, but
That's fine. It makes sense to biologically classify people. It also makes sense to socially classify people. Let's say my friend Blair White was sitting right here. It's my buddy. I love her. She's sitting right here.
We love Blair.
Do I think she lives her life as a man? No. I guess my main issue with trans women being seen as women and not being seen as trans women is they're changing the definition of women and expecting everybody to go along with that. And that affects me. Yes, they are.
They literally are changing the definition of woman and expecting everyone to go along with that. I have had on this channel in the past, I think the video is still up, a trans woman who was dating another trans woman and they called themselves a lesbian couple. For the most part, both of them passed, both of them lived their lives as women. I don't care if somebody is out there that looks like that wants to call themselves lesbians. My issue always has been with you changing the definition of it and expecting me to live by your new definition. That is not how I feel as a lesbian. I am attracted to female people that present as a woman, that look like a woman, meaning look female, that are not on testosterone. You can look like a guy. Female secondary and primary sex characteristics.
Trans women are women. Trans women are trans women. It's a very different experience.
Trans women are women.
I know that activists on the far left or wherever you are mean well when they say trans women are women. I used to say it as well. And I realized that actually denies the entire experience of a trans person. Like, if a trans woman is a woman, why do they feel the need to transition? Of course, not every trans person transitions. Why do they have gender dysphoria if a trans woman is a woman? And if trans women are women, why do these people get so upset when I constantly talk about them? I thought I'm a woman. I'm allowed to speak about other women, aren't I?
If you ask feminists at a women's march what a woman is, they can't even define it. How can you protect something and empower something that you don't even know the actual definition of?
Crazy.
what do trans women take away from women in the feminist movement?
The definition of words and what that means and how that affects us directly.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, when you change the word woman, legally it has implications. Sexually it has implications.
But the word woman
directly
has changed throughout histories, throughout different cultures.
This reminds me of the whole super straight movement that went on TikTok or whatever it was a year ago. These people have changed the definition of straight to include anyone of any gender who simply identifies as the opposite sex to be attracted to somebody else of the opposite sex. And the truth is, that ain't the case. There are a lot of biological males that will date a trans woman. There are a lot of biological males that won't. I don't care how that person identifies. What I do care about is leftists like this telling people that if they identify as straight, they have to be attracted to trans women. If you're a lesbian, you have to be attracted to trans women, or else you're a bigot. Not okay. This is how the super straight movement came about. Some young straight dude said, okay, if you're gonna take away the definition of straight for me and include trans women or whatever, I'm gonna be super straight, and this is my definition. And if you don't accept it, you're the bigot. Okay, we're nearing the end of the video. I think I pretty much got everything else that I wanted to say out, and I hope that I made my arguments more clear and more concise. If you are just seeing my channel for the first time, make sure to subscribe, and thank you so much for everybody that was leaving me amazing comments on that video. Thank you for everyone that's gonna leave comments on this one. And other than that, I will see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, love you, love yourselves. Bye.